Hello and welcome to another edition of Legacy Talks with Legacy Business League. I'm your moderator today. I'm Jonathan August. I am one of the board members for Legacy Business League. Legacy Business League is a not-for-profit chamber of commerce. Our goal is really to support um, business owners and entrepreneurs and business professionals as well in the along the Mississippi Gulf Coast. We want to make sure that we are offering resources and tools to help empower, inform, engage, and just develop any of our participants and any aspiring entrepreneurs. So, as many of you may be aware, we've got a program right now that we're facilitating called TAP. It's called the Access Project. And so, what the Access Project is we have a consortium of entrepreneurs, and we're taking them through their process to really make sure that they can maximize their opportunities as they are considering launching a new business or currently operating. So this is one of those sessions as a part of that. Today, I'm pleased to have Mr. Jeremiah Morman. He's going to be our guest today. And the topic today is financing your dream. So Jeremiah will tell you a little bit about himself, and we're going to dive right in. So Jeremiah, thank you so much for joining us today. I'd like us to start today by you just kind of telling us a little about yourself, personally, professionally, and anything you want to share with the audience today.
Yeah, sure. I appreciate the opportunity. Very excited when you called me to have this conversation. Anybody knows me know I would really like to talk, so this is right up my alley. Lifelong resident of the Mississippi Gulf Coast. A lot of people know me, of course, some don't. Graduated Harrison Central High School, 2001. Went to JD and graduated there right after high school with an associate's in business, and then off to Southern Miss from there with a bachelor's in business, and then finished my formal education with an MBA from William Carey. For a lot of people that know me know that I had a career with Walmart, that I did that for almost 15 years, all the way through high school and grad school, and some years after that. And really thought that was going to be my career. Great company, lots of fantastic people, and I really saw career opportunities. But there was always something burning inside of me. I had an entrepreneurial drive about myself, always did. Even in the 8th grade, I used to watch my barber cut people's hair, and so I kind of took an interest in that. And on the weekends in the 7th and 8th grade, I was making my own money cutting hair in my grandparents' living room. So yeah, I always had an entrepreneurial spirit. Again, people that really, really know me know that I'm quick to try to turn something into a business. So like I said, I've always had an entrepreneurial drive, and I think that's been part of my motivation in some of the businesses that I've operated so far.
Okay, so you kind of sparked into our first kind of question. So sounds like you really kind of, from as long as you can remember, you've been somebody who wanted to say, not necessarily that you want to be your own boss, but how could you leverage your time to really kind of maximize, your return, if you will. So, at what point, because I'm hearing that you were at a large corporation. Walmart is arguably probably one of the largest even in the world in terms of employers. So what really helped you to make the decision to take that leap and leave the comforts of 401k and potential stock options and everything that comes with that structure to say, let me go kind of launch out and strike out on my own?
Yeah, anybody who's worked in corporate America know that it's plagued with politics, and I could not stand the politics. I could not, I could not put myself through having to, again, play the game of politics to get promoted. So the promotions weren't coming as quickly as I thought that they should. And everybody know once you invest you're in yourself and your education and things of that sort, for me, it was kind of tough for me to get turned down or to have to go through interviewing processes. And so that was my thing. I was like, this is not going to work for me. I've got to find something on my own that I was passionate about. And this is probably my first time telling this story. Well, I've told it before, and I don't tell it too often, about me getting into the motor coach industry and the motor coach company that I started and operate currently called Lakeland Tours. So while I was at Walmart in the later years, obviously I knew that, after I finished grad school, I had to find something to do. And as a little kid, I always had this weird, I guess what I would be called as a motor coach enthusiast. And that's not something that a lot of little kids grow up interested in. And, if I was in the high school or middle school, I would not be telling this, telling this story. But growing up as a young kid, I was always, um, um, I guess, interested in, and I thought charter buses was cool. Again, that's weird, and a lot of people always start off by start laughing when I tell this story. And then the few of my friends years ago when I was younger, I would tell this story to. They did laugh at me, but my later years in Walmart, I knew that whatever I wanted to do, I knew that it had to be something I was passionate about. And so the motor coach industry did interest me. And at age 28, I did purchase my first motor coach. You talk about leap of faith. I remember showing my friends, driving by, showing my friends this bus that I bought, and they're like, "What in the world are you going to do with a bus?" But 10 years later, I can say I operated one of the largest fleets of minority-owned motor coaches in the tri-state area. We were up to 22 motor coaches at one point. We operate out of a facility in Long Beach, 4 acres, got 5 buildings on it, maintenance shops. So yeah, it's been quite a ride. Lots of things, I think I've got every piece of advice I could give somebody about starting a business, especially one the size that we currently operate. And as you know, it's been affected by COVID, which has imposed a whole another set of challenges. But we'll definitely get through it. But that's kind of how the leap of faith came. The politics of corporate America, I didn't want to play those games, and so yeah, I was definitely gonna do something for sure.
Wow. And so, we think about financing your dreams. I hear you say that about 10 years ago, acquired your first motor coach. And then at, its peak, you had 22. And so then there were lots of decisions
Yes.
that, you had to make around not just, financing your dream and kind of growing the business, but then also, in terms of family dynamics, you're in peer age group, we got children, and so you have to kind of make decisions on, okay, are we taking this family vacation? Are we going to invest in this? Am
Yeah.
I going to borrow money? So kind of tell me some, just give me a rundown of some of the questions that you kind of ask yourself as you're making the decision to expand your business versus investing in your family. Because one of the things that we think about, and we think about financing your dream, and I don't want to get too off topic because we are talking about a monetary financing of your dream, but I also understand that probably the greatest resource we have is time,
Yeah.
right? And so we're investing our time, we're investing our energy, and we're investing our money in what we believe is going to provide the best return. So kind of just talk to me, what questions do you ask yourself um, as you're deciding how you're going to spend your resources, whether that's time, money, what have you?
Well, if you're gonna anyone who's going to go into the entrepreneurial side of things, they've got to understand that if they're going to be successful, it's you got to jump in the pool and not really worry about where the bottom is. You just got to have a drive about yourself, saying that I'm going to swim no matter what. So having that mindset, yeah, it absolutely took 110% of all my time over the last 10 years. Since I started. From a financial standpoint, you kind of got to go in it knowing that, well, it may not produce the type of revenue or personal finances um, right now, but it's coming down the road, and you got to be able to have that will to produce that staying power within yourself to keep going, because it's easy to, well, it's easy to quit. because not every day is going to be sunny. And in fact, when you're out there on your own, and I don't have any business partners, so it can get real lonely sometimes, but you've got to have that drive within yourself. So the biggest asset I think that I had was that drive to succeed no matter what. Um, because when you're out there on your own and you've got to acquire millions and millions of dollars of equipment, and you've got millions of dollars of resources, and not coming from a wealthy family, I had to acquire those resources somehow. And that's where, again, the education um, uh, comes into play. So it didn't start. I guess my plan of operating that particular company didn't start when I purchased the first motor coach. It started when I decided to go to college, when I decided to, kind of start putting things in order, or putting together my exit strategy from Walmart, things of that. So all that started years prior to. So the foundation was laid. So again, giving someone some advice, it's going to be a marathon and not a sprint. And again, even 10 years later, I'm still in that marathon phase of things. So it's not going to happen overnight, but it's going to take a lot of hard work and dedication, and knowing your business, getting into the numbers, and studying things such as the cash flow cycle of the business, of the industry. If you don't have any, I guess, formal education in business, I mean, I guess you don't have to. Well, you don't have to have an MBA to start and run a successful business, but it will help, because once you get out there and start competing with other companies, you recognize what you're seeing around you, and it's almost like an instinct because you've studied it. And so, one of the biggest assets I believe that I have, is the fact that I have an MBA, and I really I think really put it to use, and it's really helped me out a lot.
You said something very, I think, powerful and insightful that I want to just echo. Your business did not start the day you bought your first motor coach.
Right.
You were building the foundation. You were laying the groundwork many, many years
Yeah.
prior to that. And so there were a lot of questions that you probably were able to just intuitively answer because you had been preparing yourself along the way. Something else I think you said that was very impactful. Really being kind of an industry, maybe you're not, don't, maybe you won't be an industry expert, but you definitely should not be an industry novice before you're either A, investing your money in your dream, or B, expecting somebody else to invest their money in your dream. you know, like you need to know, kind of how you're going to acquire customers, how you're going to generate revenue. And something else you said that I thought was very excellent was the cash flow cycle. Each business is different. There's is what we call from a banking perspective, and even kind of what is the seasonality of your business? Is there any seasonality? I would imagine the motor coach industry, probably summertime in a non-COVID world,
Sure.
is probably high travel, right? So if you were looking, in your primary industry, you probably were looking at, if I was going to acquire a new motor coach, I'm probably not going to buy it until spring, until I'm going to be able to get a quick return on that investment versus buying something or trying to get, financing for something in third or fourth quarter. And it's going to now sit potentially for 6 months. So, understanding your business really helps you to leverage that. So, you said something, earlier about not having any partners. Kind of tell me about your decision process on, as you were forming your company, as you were financing your dream. We think about the show Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Shark Tank is one of those shows that everybody watches, like, ooh, I want to go on there, and there are lots of great benefits to doing a Shark Tank style, space. What people may or may not understand with the panel on Shark Tank, they are what people will call angel investors. They're not banks. They're not necessarily looking at your credit report, and they're not necessarily giving you a loan. They may or may not, but in many cases, they get to kind of structure how they want to receive a return on their investment. That return can be, just a straight loan. That may be ownership share in the company. Maybe there's dividend payments. There's all these different things. And so, you know, it's easy to ask somebody for money, whether that's the bank or an investor. But, you know, tell me about kind of your decision as, you know, you were navigating, you know, relatively young man, you know, how did you make the decision to say, hey, I'm going to go solo and operate as a, you know, sole member entity, army of one, versus maybe giving up ownership or that. So kind of tell me about, you know, how you led to that decision.
Yeah, sure. So, you know, it, and I've been at age 28, it was going to be very difficult to find someone uh, that shared a passion for motor coaches. Okay, that's for one. Okay, that's the first problem. And secondly, you know, I like control over what's going on. You know, I wanted to be the decision maker. I was very confident in my decisions, and I did at the time didn't need a partner from a financial standpoint to move forward with what I was wanting to do. And you know, sometimes if you don't have a partner that is on the same wavelength with you, or one share the same passion for the project that you're working on, then there's going to be opportunity for conflict. And so I wanted to avoid all of that. And then, you know, when you're starting a business off, you know, it's not going to make any money. Initially, majority of the time. I don't know very few businesses. I know all the ones that I've started didn't make money at first, you know. So,
Right.
so it's kind of like, okay, so I find somebody to come in and invest whatever with me. It may or may not work. I don't know. From my standpoint, I was quite confident that it was going to work, but I wasn't 100% sure. So I didn't want to bring anybody in with me, if I even found anybody locally. That I wanted to kind of involve in it. So I wanted to do it by myself. And down the road, once I got some traction and got some history, if needed, then maybe I could collaborate with somebody, but never really had to. And I was able to do pretty much everything on my own. So that's good. And so I would say to anybody from an advice standpoint, you know, if you partner with somebody, it's got to be somebody that share the same passion and have the same interest in the organization or the company or whatever it is that you guys are working on. And so, again, just find a like-minded person or group of people and make sure that you all kind of, you know, will be a good fit for what you guys are working on.
I think that's a great, you know, shared experience, shared passion is excellent. Would you agree that, you know, shared experience and being like-minded is great? Also, perhaps if there's an area of expertise that you don't have, that your partner, as long as they are, you know, operating with integrity and passionate, maybe that is an opportunity to bring on a partner, somebody that can complement an area of deficiency. Would you think that that would be a good point of consideration?
It's a phenomenal idea. As a matter of fact, I'm to that point now in what I'm working on. You know, I've been in conversations with someone over the last couple of years, and it's definitely going to be a good fit between me and this person, and to move forward. I'm excited about it. But yeah, absolutely. You know, the whole sweat capital thing, it works. You know, so it's an established organization, and I feel now to move my projects to the next level, I will need to bring someone in with the areas that one person can't do it all. You know, you can only take it so far, and I think that I've taken what I'm doing as far as I can take it by myself. So over the last I think like 3 years, I've been in conversations. He watched me, I've watched him, and we know it's going to be a good fit, and so we're excited about it. So absolutely.
So you said something, you threw out a number, but I just want to make sure we heard it.
Sure.
You said 3 years, you know,
Yeah.
three years, and you still haven't formalized this partnership. You haven't formalized this MOU. You haven't formalized a joint venture, however it's going to be structured.
Yeah.
And so, you know, this is not something you're taking lightly, or your potential business partner. And so I think that, that's something that should definitely be highlighted for all of our viewers and our program participants, that we're considering a partnership. In many ways, it can be just as intertwined as a marriage.
Sure, sure,
I
sure.
mean, it really can be. I mean, and if things
Or
don't go
more
well,
so.
it can be just as right. And if things don't go well, it can be just as challenging to unwind as a marriage. And so, I kind of say that on a quick, thing. For couples, people who are, married to each other, and then to make the decision to go into business together, it just kind of layers on. Not saying it cannot work, but these are things to consider. These are
Yeah,
things to consider as we are building together. And what are we doing? What are going to be strengths? What is going to be my role? What is going to be your role? Are there going to be any kind of clear lines, or is it kind of a free for all? And just
yeah.
really understanding what that whole scenario looks like, I think, on the front end,
Yes.
before you say I do as a business
Yeah.
partner,
Yeah.
to understand what I'm saying I do too.
Right.
I think that's a really good takeaway for all of our viewers today.
Absolutely.
um, let's kind of pivot a little bit. Again, we're talking about financing your dream. We talked about sweat equity. Um, we obviously, there's skin in the game, as people would say. So it's apparent based upon what you've said, that you've invested your own time, your own money, your own resources. Can you share with me any kind of pitfalls, either a to avoid, or that you've seen people make poor decisions from a financing perspective, or from a economic perspective, as it relates to their business?
Well, the biggest challenge that I would say someone's going to face, or thing that I would like to talk about, is understanding the financial structure of your business. What I'm referring to as the financials of your business. When you go
Mm.
to a firm, a finance company, or a bank, or someone, they're going to want to see what's called your financials. Okay, and you're going to have to be able to present those, and they've got to be your financials got to be able to tell the story. So you're going to need to be familiar with all of your financial statements and what they are, making sure that they're accurate. So I cannot stress how important it is. I don't care if it's your first day in business, or if you must have a really, 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 really good CPA, or someone to prepare your financials, and to if you're not familiar with what, say, a balance sheet is, or a personal financial statement is, or income statement, because these are things that the financial institutions are going to ask you for, and you're going to have them. They've got to be accurate, and how that information is presented is going to um, determine, if they're going to give you any financial support with your business, or with your project that you're working on. So, I mean, everybody's story is going to be different. Everybody's business is going to be different. But know your business. But I guess we're talking about starting out, from a startup standpoint. You're going to have to know what kind of capital you're going to need to start the business, and you're going to have a resource to get it. Fortunately for me, I did not have to start with borrowing money to start the transportation company. I was able to do that alone. So that was one hurdle that I really avoided. So, and that can be a blessing and a curse for some people, because you can take all your retirement and all your money, and then if you don't know what you're doing, it's going to be gone, and there's no reset button. Like the old school Nintendo, you can
Right.
hit the reset button, and they're going to give you all your money back. No, it's going to be gone, and you're going to have a problem. So, study your business, study the industry. Like I said before, when I bought the first motor coach, it did not start that day. I was and again, I wouldn't tell. I'll say it now that I'm almost 40, but in the sixth grade, I could tell you every charter bus company here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. I don't know how many sixth graders could do that, but I was one of them that did. So, and I was always studying and learning, and then all the way through. So I guess my business plan was in my head. So when I purchased the first motor coach, I was pretty knowledgeable about the industry, and I was really ready to go. But from the finances, again, understanding the financial statements, the financial health of your situation, your company. If you've been in for a year, well, it's time to expand at that point. Well, then you're going to want to go to lenders, and you got to tell your story and what you've been doing for last year. What kind of money you've made, what kind of money you spent. They're going to be very interested in your cash flow, things of that sort. And those are hurdles that I had to deal with. Some, again, I knew some stuff, John, but I'm not gonna tell you I knew it all. Now, I can't tell you that everything was all good, because it was a lot of, it was a huge learning curve. So I had to find a way to, operate a company that spent millions of dollars of cash each year, and so that kind of blew my mind. And again, I was in it by myself, and so it can get real lonely sometimes. But if you got to stay in the saddle, you got to stay in the seat, and I couldn't have done anything. And I guess we've been talking for a little while, and it's not like me not to mention this particular person, but the good Lord, John, was with me the entire time, day in and day out. And a lot of times I was like, hey, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make this happen. I think I've finally done it this time, and but God was right there, and it's really been a blessing. So, I mean, by all means, you got to pray as well as knowing about those financial statements. But that's my advice on the financial piece of it.
Well, I can agree with both of those. I believe every conversation decision should start with prayer.
Yeah.
And then, obviously to understand the importance of really knowing your business and really being able to tell your story. I think that's impactful.
Yeah.
Um, as a banker, I've been a banker now for about 21 years. I'm not in a customer facing role anymore, but I will tell you, I mean, in some cases, it wasn't just about the loan application, it was the customer conversation as well. And if I didn't get a good sense or feeling that the owner of the business understood the business,
Yeah.
because I used to tell potential customers or applicants, you know, I don't want to be in your example, in your case, I don't want to be in the motor coach business. I'm going to know just enough to be dangerous as a banker to say, okay, if we finance this purchase of this vehicle, this purchase of this equipment, is there a reasonable likelihood of the ability to repay, their ability to kind of, and their willingness to repay, and us being able to do that.
Yeah.
If I have concerns about the kind of knowledge and the experience of the key owners and decision makers, it may not mean that I'm going to say no on the loan, but it may mean that, well, we're going to have to pause and
Yeah.
we need more information.
Yeah. Can I say, and that brings up a good point. Obviously, I work with several banks here locally, and key one of the key assets that I have is the relationship that I have with those banks, and that relationship has to be maintained. As you switch out account managers or loan officers or whoever's servicing your accounts, well, say I had one particular loan officer um, that I work with for 5 years. Well, at that point, he knew just as much about the motor coach industry as I did. The cash flow cycle, the seasonality of it, purchasing new motor coaches and equipment. Well, he was knowledgeable. So I would recommend to anybody that, as you're going to go and try to establish a relationship with a bank, you need to educate that particular person even before you go and submit the application. Even if it may take you, a year or so, if you're going to ask for a large sum of money. I mean, I think it'd be, if you walk into a bank and say, hey, I need $300,000 to purchase
Right.
this, it's probably not going to go very far. I don't know that though, but but if you go in and you say, hey, this is who I am, this is my business, and start the conversation with them, and however that relationship materializes, and allow that banker to, for instance, what I have done or been known to do is I keep them updated on what's going on. It be just emails or phone calls, or just drop in and say, hey, we have a new contract here with the military, or we picked up 3 more colleges and sport teams. Just kind of let them know what's going on, how it's going on, and keep them updated. So the one thing that I would always do is whenever that bank or loan officer would leave, and a new one would come, well, I'm essentially starting fresh, you know what I mean? So I would strategically and methodically educate that person. I'd start sending them a series of emails. I would drop in, and well, the first thing I would do whenever I would get a new loan officer is I would go there and meet with and let them know everything about me, my family, my company, everything, so that they can see that what I'm saying is true. Okay, we have these contracts in these months, July, these months, August and September, there's hardly no work, and here's how I deal with that, or whatever the case may be, or whatever, and so nothing is a surprise because it's all about relationships. So going back to, when you're building that relationship, if you're starting a company and you know that in a year or two that you're going to have to uh, apply for some funding and get some financial support from a bank, I would start that process as soon as possible, and don't go there and ask, hey, by the way, I need $150,000. Where do I apply?
Right.
How? But let them know so that you can kind of make your case. And that was what I recommend. And that's how I handle those relationships.
So I've heard you say CPA from the beginning, a banker from the beginning, and these are relationships. And so when I think about relationships, it's not transactional.
Right.
They know your name, you know their name, they know your business. You have been open enough with them to be transparent and in an authentic way create a open dialogue where there's a two-way communication. So I think that's really the elevated, what we want to elevate to all of our listeners, that a relationship is reciprocal. It's not just, hey, you're my banker, I've got credit, give me the money.
Right.
Also let me tell the story, but we have a relationship, right? Before, to your point, I just asked for $500,000. And same thing, with your CPA, having a relationship with your CPA, your qualified, capable, tax advisor. If they understand your business and you're transparent with them, they can now offer advice to help you avoid the dangers of the tax man, IRS, whatever, because we do not want IRS tax levies be due to unpaid, liens or unpaid taxes. I mean, it can be a game changer. I mean, it can be a game changer. So, in our last few minutes of time, and first of all, I just want to tell you, thank you. So many great nuggets, points of wisdom. If you had to tell, let's talk to the startups, because a lot of what you shared today has spoken to somebody who's thinking about starting a business, but also really kind of established business owners. If you had to talk to a startup, we understand about the importance of relationship. We understand the groundwork and the foundation. Other than that, is there any kind of key piece of advice as it relates to kind of their financial picture of their business that you would offer and you would leave them with today?
Well, I would recommend, or I would kind of recommend taking into consideration, you have to, it all goes with research and doing your homework and knowing what's needed to operate the company. I can't stress enough the cash flow of the business. You have to, that's just as important as equipment. You can have a bus, you can have a building, you can have drivers, but if you don't have the cash to cash flow business, then you really don't have what you need to operate the business. So, I talk with a lot of people and they will jump into the business, they will get going. And then the biggest hurdle they will have is, cash flow. So keep an eye on that, managing that. The other thing is just other resources, make sure you have all your T's crossed, your I's dotted. You have to have, make sure you have proper insurance, all of your, again, all the T's crossed and I's dotted. And we talked about, John, the banker and the CPA, and I would also recommend them to have a relationship with an attorney as well. And those are three people that you don't want to ever, you want to be extremely transparent with. Your attorney, your CPA, and your banker, because those are the people that's gonna be your lifeline. And if either the three of those lose confidence in you, you're gonna have a significant problem moving forward with your project or your company. But just understanding the financial structure, and just know that if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. And just know what you need to start your company, and have a plan to gather those resources, be it human capital or working capital or whatever the case may be. And other than that, just have that drive and determination, and you go for it.
That is awesome. You had a little bit of a mic drop moment. You said if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business, and I tend to agree with you, my friend.
Yeah.
You know, because it's true. I mean, it's, you know, and the business is far beyond the product or the service or the idea. It's everything that comes full circle. And so I really appreciate your time today.
Sure.
You know, I've had the pleasure of working with you in multiple facets, and you have been a first class entrepreneur, business owner who takes a high degree of pride in the product and in the services you produce and provide. And so I look forward to, hopefully post pandemic, and as we are transitioning into a reopened and kind of reopened economy, to just continue to do business with you as well. So that concludes this session. So my name is Jonathan August, and this has been a Legacy Talk series. And we look forward to joining you guys next time. And as you are financing your dream, remember these key takeaways. If you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. You've got to have transparent relationships with your banker, your CPA, your attorneys. You know, we would call it the garbage in, garbage out experience. You may be mad at the advice that one of these individuals gave you, but if you didn't give them the whole picture, then they're not in a position to give you the best advice. And then I think probably the other key takeaway is the foundation starts early. The foundation starts early. This is not an idea where really anything where typically people say, oh, this is what I want to do, and then they're in business in 30 days. There is going to almost always be a season of sowing, studying, planning, methodical kind of strategy before the launch. And so, you know, in the church world, people will say, you see the glory, but you don't know my story. And so I think that everybody they see the success, but they don't understand what it takes to get there. So, you know, as you're financing your dream, as you're chasing your dream, as you're pursuing it, do the work and do it in a way with excellence, because you're investing in yourself. And so if you are investing in yourself, then make sure that who you are and what you produce is top notch. We thank you guys for joining, and we'll talk to you soon.